Thank you and good morning again. Thank you to everyone for being here. I am Gisela Sanchez and I'm head of European projects within finance innovation. I also work with the consultants, that part of our ecosystem. Just a few words about us. We are a cluster on the digital finance sector. So we are the only cluster on digital finance in France. So we are gathering 600 members today. 400 other startups, SMEs from the digital financial sector. We have 6 verticals, as we call them. So bank, insurance, asset management, real estate, corporate finance, sustainable and inclusive finance. So the other part of our members are the banks and insurance companies. We also have a committee of investors, the consultants and the associations or federations that are also part of our cluster. So our objective is to accelerate innovation in the digital financial sector. Of course, also make partnerships between SMEs or between among our members. And also, of course, as we were created by the government, we also work a lot with research centers, laboratories. So we are involved in European projects. So back since 2019, and thanks to partners as Raphaël, we have been involved in several European projects as H2020 and now Horizon Europe, but also EIT Digital. Different topics as finance, we can find a lot of different issues. We have been in John's project, but also in green. So we have worked in also in neobanks, green neobanks, for instance. We will be coordinating our first project this year about investors. So we will be the investors ecosystem within Europe. So the topics are different. Of course, green, the green part is very important to us. Green Deal are calls that interest a lot to us. Life as well. We have a whole vertical dedicated to this, and also inclusion. By the way, we have an event on inclusive finance tomorrow, so I encourage you to come tomorrow. So we are always looking forward to meet new partners. So if you are interested in discussing with us, we are always looking to internationalize our partners. We have done it in Europe, but we are very interested in Israeli partners, so don't hesitate to contact me. I was in Taiwan last week, and we are always exploring actually new partnerships. So we are very glad to having you here, and now I will just leave the floor to Raphaël. Thank you.
Thank you. Just some more. Thank you very much. So some words only to the attendees and also the online attendees. Just to like to warmly welcome our esteemed speakers and the presenter for this first roundtable. And I think you are all of you are pivotal part of our success with this event. So with support and all the input that we provide now during this roundtable, we have taken this occasion from a modest affair, like we say in French, we have a room full of attendees to one of the most hopefully anticipated events. So our gratitude is overwhelming, and thank you for all you have done and continue to do. Okay, so I will give the floor. So I will be happy to, with Yossi, to welcome our maybe speakers. So we have now Shani Zanescu, from co-founder at PLANETech. Orly Glick, co-founder and CEO at ESGgo. Anat Tsour, venture capitalist, active chairwoman. Laurent Acide, president of Go to Impact. And hopefully online we have Armando Priegue Freire, if it's suitable. So, and Yossi Dan as managing partner from Challenge Israel and CEO from Lab.
So, just for to understand the two sessions that we'll run quickly, I'm first very happy to be here. You know, as a French-born Israeli entrepreneur. Being here means a lot. I'm here with part of the Israeli delegation that comes to ViraTec. We are more than 30 coming to ViraTec. you have about a dozen of them here. You have about a dozen of the first, of the first comers. Part of them are in the flight still and on the way. We'll do 2 quick sessions. The first will be more presentation sessions with Shani, with Anat, and with Orly, and then we'll have a quick panel. And something that I want to emphasize is that, coming by metro this morning into this place, I was checking, the Earth Overshoot Day in 2023. So can we balance, our life with the planet? And I was checking that this year, this day will happen on August 2, 2023. So this year, up to August 2nd, we are on our planet resources. And then from August 3, we begin to use non-renewable resources from the planet. And this is something, always in my in background of everything. And I want, of course, this sustainable innovation breakfast with partners from France, from Europe, and of course from Israel. I want it to be emphasized not only on what everyone has to do and to come and to share with everyone, but what do we have to do together? So without further ado, I would like to invite first Shani, that will present the PLANETech ecosystem. By the way, online you will have the presentation, but for all of you here, it will be on the screen. And second, we'll have Anat that will present as a VC and as a ClimaTech expert, her insight about that. And number 3, we'll have Orly, CEO at ESGgo, as a founder, but also as a previous VC and as a previous consultant. So let's have them. Please, Shani.
Okay, I'm going to say hello until the iPad is ready. Should I? Can I? Yeah, it's better. Hi, everyone. Good morning. It is really great to be here with amazing colleagues here. So while the presentation is going, as Yossi mentioned, my name is Shani Zanescu. I'm a ClimaTech investor working with various climate companies and investors in Israel and abroad. And as you know, in Israel, we like to tell our story of the startup nation. And throughout the various endeavors in my career, there was a point when me and other colleagues realized that we need to do something in order to shift the abundance of technologies and great things. And this is not the topic of my talk now, but we realized we need to do some shift, okay? We have all the resources, everything that we need in Israel. We want to solve real climate challenges. So what we did, alongside everyone's day jobs, is to found PLANETech. And PLANETech is a nonprofit and a joint venture of the Israel Innovation Institute and Consensus Business Group, which is a financial investor. And we realized that this is our mission for the next years, 2030, 2050, until we reach net zero. And we do it by centralizing the ecosystem. So we have the academia, other NGOs, corporates, of course, we need the industry, governments from all around the world and different ministries within the different governments in different countries, along with investors and of course the startups, okay? We're kind of existing for the startups and for the technologies. We realized we want to create this home, okay, for everyone to come, a neutral home for everyone to solve climate change. No big deal, right? We do so by sharing knowledge and connecting opportunities, and also work with the industry to implement the technologies that we have in Israel. And we have a few partners, like 100 of them. And the entire focus is that notion that climate change is not only the biggest crisis that humanity has ever faced, but also probably the biggest financial opportunity. Bank of America put the number, it's like in a deck presentation of startups when you show the market size. I'm not sure, but that was the number that they put, $150 trillion that the world will need to invest in the next 30 years in order to really decarbonize the global economy. And a huge part of it is tech. And here lies the opportunity. We see tectonic shifts that are happening with the race to zero, with governments and regulations, and also funding that is available. And everyone understands that climate risk is a financial risk, okay? And this is why we see all of this movement that is happening. I'm really focused also on reading and tapping into the generational shift that is happening with the new investors, the new talent, and the new consumers that demand different type of investment vehicles and technologies. And of course, we also feel the sense of urgency. We feel it this week, right, in the city, full week of 30 degrees Celsius. I don't think, it's my second time here, but let's see. Anyways, in short, ClimaTech is a growing asset class. We all agree on that. It is a very weird time in the market, but we still see that last year, a quarter from all the investments in the world were in ClimaTech, and this continues to happen, and you can see it in comparison to other sectors. But the first thing that we did in PLANETech is to define what it means, ClimaTech, because none of us in the team, and I forgot to mention there is an amazing team of brilliant people, none of us really like buzzwords. So just so we all speak the same language, ClimaTech we define as any technology that reduces greenhouse gas emissions through mitigation or adaptation. And this is something that we're really sticking to with anything we do. Another first thing that we did was to establish the challenges map. And I think this is kind of our guide and compass to navigate, and also bringing more technologies to fill in these challenges. So I'm really going to run through them briefly. And while I'm going to do it, I'm going to I put a lot of examples of Israeli companies. I'm not going to explain all of them, but if you want to ask about any of them later, I'm happy to share. So the first thing we're looking at is the built environment, which is easy to think as where we live. The sustainable mobility and transport, clean energy systems, low carbon buildings, green construction, eco-efficient water infrastructures. And luckily, we have many, many wonderful companies in Israel in that space. The next space that we're looking at and is now growing also is the materials and manufacturing. So things we make. Everything around us, the chairs are closed, everything around us, someone made it, right? So we're looking at novel materials, clean manufacturing, circularity, transparent and agile supply chains, and of course, carbon capture and utilization. The next thing we're looking at, this is the third out of 5, land use. So of course, we have climate smart agriculture, soil health, alternative proteins, food loss and waste, and also metal and mineral mining, which is a very hot topic that we see a lot of companies around the world. And we have a couple or 3 of them also in Israel. And the fourth one is nature. So everything that we need to revive, that we, the humans, will practically ruin somehow. And now we're working on reviving it. And I think it's a fascinating sector in technology because we're like going back to basic, right? We see a lot of technologies that try to restore the forest and land ecosystem, ocean and water ecosystem, extreme weather events. Again, like we're starting to experience everywhere around the world, biodiversity and Earth observations. And the fifth and last one, but definitely not least, it's the digital space. When we see carbon management, risk and finance, we have the honor of having you don't see it, but you're on my slide. Just FYI. And sustainable and digital infrastructures, which in Israel, we're kind of a lot of second timers and third time entrepreneurs. It's kind of their go-to space first when they tap into climate. And then I'm trying to convert them into like doing some hardware or something like that. But it's okay. We really need all of it. So just a snapshot of now that we know what ClimaTech means, right? It's not a buzzword anymore. We all have a sense of what it is. We have around 700 startups. We have our partners, and this is a bit also about the activity of PLANETech. But I think this is the most interesting part. In 2020, when we were just established, 1 in every 13 startups in Israel was considered ClimaTech startup according to our challenges map. Today, it's 1 in 5. So for me, this is one of the kind of best metrics that we're looking at. We also see more investments flowing into this sector, but we can discuss more about it later. And I think I'm going to end with just giving you also a snapshot of what kind of areas within the challenge areas are the leading ones and where we have room for more innovation and partnerships and so on and so forth. So naturally, in the climate smart agriculture part, Israel is really advanced, which makes sense, right? Agriculture companies and startups have been for years kind of the sector that Israel is known for. But we also have clean energy systems and sustainable mobility and transport. And you can see in this snapshot kind of the maturity levels and the stages of the companies. So you can see that we have a very mature ecosystem in climate smart agriculture, and we have the new arrivals, the newcomers with carbon capture and utilization, and we see all of them growing. And like I've mentioned, like we need all stakeholders, we also need all sectors and challenges. And last and not least, I can also share it with you. We're conducting an annual report on the state of ClimaTech in Israel. This is also all the data that I showed you is driven from. And I like to end with the gaps because I think here we're a very mixed community from all sorts of countries and backgrounds. This is where we can thrive, and these are our opportunities. So first of all, 35% of technologies required to address climate challenges haven't been invented yet. That's a lot. So for the founders here, we can solve it. And also in Israel, there's a need for beta sites for the companies to test and validate their technologies. And here, obviously, this is, I think, the best opportunity for bilateral collaboration, international collaborations with other entities. And I think even now in the market downturn that we see and the layoffs, we see a lot of amazing talent, whether they laid off or they choose to move somewhere, they go to climate. They go to ClimaTech. So we also have amazing talent, which is another opportunity. So with that, I'm happy to stay in touch. I would also love to invite you to Tel Aviv in October. Hopefully the weather will not be too hot for our conference. And I'm really would love to stay in touch. Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. So, this is the picture I wanted to show you today, and I'm going to talk to you. It's going to be a free talk. You hear me, by the way?
Yes.
So, okay. So my name is Anat Tsour. I am a venture capitalist for many years in Israel. I was concentrating mostly on the seed and the pre-seed stage startups. I founded and was CEO of a technological incubator that we privatized in the early cohort of privatization. I think it's 20 years ago, actually. Axeria Venture Capital. 5 years ago, it was acquired in its entirety by Consensus Business Group. And Shani here is my colleague. Hi, Shani. So we've been seeding companies in general technology and even medical spaces. So my acquaintance with ClimaTech started in Capital Nature, which is another technological incubator that I was CEO of about 5 years ago. And today I also teach sustainability entrepreneurship at Reichman University. So I want to talk to you about ClimaTech from an investor point of view. and give you kind of like the high level of how we view things as investors, and in what it's different than other investment sectors. So for the entrepreneurs, and I think it's really important for the ecosystem in general, for entrepreneurs specifically when they come to raise funds for their ventures. So this is the street of the boulevard of my hotel here in Paris, Sunday. The gap between the pictures is like, I don't know, maybe a couple of hours. So at one time it was like I was feeling like as if I'm in Tel Aviv. By the way, I grew up in Paris, so I don't remember 5 years ago. I don't remember hot days like the picture on the left. I was feeling as if I'm in Tel Aviv. And then all of a sudden, it was Florida. It wasn't even raining. It wasn't cold. It was Florida. It was hot and pouring. And so 1 minute I'm in Tel Aviv, and the other minute I'm in Florida, and I'm in Paris. So what's going on here? So I think we all feel what's happening. And we're talking a lot about technologies, and Shani spoke about all the technologies and all the technological challenges of solving the ClimaTech problem. But we have to go a little bit like one level up, and our planet is basically acting out. It's acting like a sick patient. And like in medicine, we know that a specific solution to a specific problem, you know, sometimes you go to the doctor, they fix one thing, they ruin something else, because, you know, we are one system. And with the planet, it's the same. So, and the problems go even beyond that, because soon everybody's talking about the fact that water scarcity, desertification, food shortage will also cause security problems, wars, geopolitical problems between countries, and widen social gaps within countries. So when we're looking, and it's all connected to ClimaTech. So when we're looking at a startup, let's go back to the micro level, okay? As investors, we have to look not only on the solution, not only on its economical sustainability. We have to look at the entire ecosystem. And that's why organizations like PLANETech, for example, which role is to bring together the ecosystem, are so important also, not only as NGOs, they are vital to the investment community. And I'll give you some examples. Take solar, for example, okay? So solar was really going up like 10, 15 years ago, and there were the price of the solar panels went down, and everybody thought that, okay, now we have renewable energy for free. But when we look at solar, for example, we have to look at the entire value chain. We have to look at the sourcing materials, and we also have to look at the storage of energy, right? Because what did we do if we powered everything by solar and our storage is in batteries? What did we do? We didn't do anything. Or take, for example, water treatment. If you have problems between countries about water resources, about national reserves, it's specifically important in countries, you know, that are on the verge of deserts, and the deserts are moving forward. So even, you know, even south of Europe is already being desertificated, or yeah, so the desert is moving. The desert is moving. So we have to look at the geopolitical standpoint, and we have to look at the standpoint of governments. Or even if we're looking within societies at precise agriculture, I'm a chairwoman of a precise irrigation company that is taking care of trees. But if farmers, growers, orchard owners are given subsidies for water, then what is their motivation to invest in new technologies to help save water? So it's all connected to one another. And so as investors, we have to look at the entire, not only at the entire ecosystem, we have to look at the standpoint of governments as well. And this starts to make our job as investors quite tricky, because it's not only enough that a venture will have a good technology. It's not only enough that a venture will have a wonderful team. It's not enough for the venture to have a sustainable business model. The venture has to fit into the ecosystem, and it has to take a much wider, and it goes to each and every startup. Each and every startup has to look at the entire, all the considerations. Just for example, in the company of the trees, Tsour, that I'm involved in, we're looking at forest trees. And we're starting to make pilots in Europe because forests are dying. So we're going to end up irrigating forests, or to predict wildfires, which are causing major housing problems. So every startup, so the areas are really connected to one another. It's not only that if you're saying, like, if you're an enterprise software company, for example, you look at your own realm. Each and every startup in ClimaTech has to look at the holistic point of view. So this is one thing I wanted to say. And speaking about government, another point I wanted to raise, everybody ran away from the street when it started pouring like that. It was just impossible to be outside. And like in the weather and like in the streets, when it rains, people run away. When the financial situation is difficult, investors shy away from investments, from making new investments. And this is what is happening today globally. In Israel specifically, the government has always been given an umbrella to the small startups in the form of the technological incubators and other financing problems, in order to help them pass these very critical stages when they are seed startups. And I'm really hopeful that the government will continue to provide this umbrella in the current political climate, so that not everybody will run away and will be able to solve ClimaTech problems. Thank you.
I will say hello in the meantime. Hello, and thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Yossi. Thank you, Andre, for inviting me here. It's really a pleasure. Fantastic. Yes, go back. So my name is Orly Glick. I'm the CEO and co-founder of ESGgo. And I'm so happy to be here. You know why? Because I'll try this in French. Il y a 20 ans, j'ai vécu et travaillé ici, et mon fils est également né ici. So I have a big part of my heart here in Paris, a really big part of my heart. And it's really nice to be back. I'll tell you about myself and the team in a minute, but what is ESGgo and how did we get there? So I interviewed 153 companies, 153. And I asked them, what are your challenges in sustainability and in ESG? And here are some of the results. So I was a consultant before. One of my big sins, I was a McKinsey before. And so I like these kind of interviews. What did they say? What are the challenges? And these are corporates, European and American corporates. Let's start with the big ones. 92% of the companies said that ESG data collection inside the company is a really big challenge. The ESG data, or the sustainability data, is compiled of thousands of data points. And in order to make the big change, we first have to collect these pieces of data. And it's in different departments and with different people and with different business units. And that's a big challenge. Also, 97% of the companies said that they need to standardize all of that data according to different reporting frameworks. There is the SDGs, there is GRI, SASB, CDP, TCFD. We call it an alphabet soup. So it's really, really hard. And it's a new profession, right? Companies haven't. We had a really good discussion about it earlier. It's a new profession to be a sustainability director, the CSO, Chief Sustainability Officer. It's a new role. So there's a lot of challenges: collecting the data, standardizing them, benchmarking to competition. The reporting itself sometimes takes 6 months to companies to report their sustainability report. And according to the European regulation, the European directive, the CSRD, companies, public companies, and companies from 500 people and up have to report sustainability report, which is great. but really hard. So why we call it a data spaghetti? We have alphabet soup, data spaghetti. We're all about food. So why is it really complex? So on the right side, you see all of the reporting frameworks, tons of reporting frameworks. On the bottom, you see the rating agencies. Every public company is rated, just like countries are rated, for their financial strength by Moody's and Fitch and Bloomberg and S&P. Now, the same rating agencies are rating companies on their ESG. Companies really get a score. If you go online on S&P sustainability score, ESG score, you will see a score of Procter & Gamble, of Nestle. Companies are getting a score, and the asset managers that are buying their stocks are looking at that score and comparing. And so the score is becoming a really big driver of the stock price and a real big driver of compensation. About, I think, 60% of the Standard & Poor's companies are now aligning executive compensation, CEO compensation, and executive compensation directly to the ESG score because it's affecting their price. So this is becoming, again, that data spaghetti. Now, if you think about it, if you're a national company, you have divisions all over the world. And there is the imperial system to measure in the US. There is the metric system here, different data periods. Again, it's a data problem. Now, I was at COP27 in some panels, and we all talked about the same thing. We cannot make a big change if we don't measure, right? A change starts from measurement. You measure, you put KPIs, you improve. So we're starting with a measurement. So who are we actually? We are a team of very experienced business people, programmers, army people, ESG folks. What I think we are really good at is combining the things that not a lot of companies were able to combine. We have the ESG experts in-house, we have the software experts from the army, and we have the data experts, and we have a lot of gray-haired business executives. So I myself, I'm personally coming from 30 years of experience. I was a leader in the army and in a tiny technology area. I was relocated to the Netherlands. I worked for a company, for one of the first startups in Israel, ESGgo. Yes, I was the only woman engineer in ESGgo. Actually lived in Maastricht, the Netherlands, with a toolbox in my car and drove all around Europe to fix the machine. It's a huge machine side of this stage. I always did stuff that I was the only woman in the room. This is also a passion of mine, the S in the ESG, promoting women. Very, very big passion of mine to promote women in technology. I then left. I studied at Maastricht University. I did my master's, my bachelor's, my master's, my MBA. I moved to Belgium to work for McKinsey. And then I moved here. And then I lived also 10 years in Orange County in California, where I worked in asset management and banking. Also had my own startup. So always between startups and corporates, then came back to Israel after 20 years, worked again at McKinsey. And then I was a partner at one of the largest VC firms. And I really felt I wanted to leave a legacy, a really, really big legacy, and do it with impact. And my teammates, Yariv, our COO, he was a brigadier general in the army and one of the technology units. And these two folks are really amazing. The head of engineering, head of data, they're coming from deep data expertise in the Israeli army. So a lot of experience combining those things, ESG expertise, data expertise, software expertise. This is a tiny list of our customers that we are allowed to share. Some of our advisory board members. What we do is we have a platform that we provide companies. What do? We go into the organization. I'll show you the features. We go into the organization. We connect to the data. We pull all the thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of pieces of data. We standardize. We normalize according to every framework, every regulation. Companies can report easily, very fast. We do benchmarks to competition. We then tell companies how can they improve their ESG, how can they increase the ESG score, and of course, we're using also generative AI now. Let's see if we can see. Oh, we don't see the technology slide, but oh yeah, this is it. So this is really cool. Okay, the top, and we had a really nice conversation earlier. The top is the generative AI or the AI. You can never use AI in sustainability until you do. We start with the basics, which is really the pipeline, pulling the data, cleaning it. So we have to start there. You cannot just start from the cool and sexy stuff, the AI. So we really start from the bottom. The bottom is our technology. We pull the data, we standardize, we normalize. It's a lot of heavy lifting. We use AIs as well, but very specific AI, more machine learning. Then we have NLP that scans a lot of reports and brings competition data. Then we use machine learning on top of it. And then at the end, we use AI and generative AI, who are partners of Microsoft, of the ChatGPT team, the Microsoft AI for Good. So we're doing all of this great stuff to really help companies. One of the companies we worked with, a company with 34 business units, took them 6 months before they were customers, 6 months to collect the data and report. With our system, 1 hour onboarding, 2 weeks, everything was done. So we are really trying to do something crazy, but we're Israelis. So, and combining these two worlds of sustainability and software, I think was really, really going to help public companies become better. And actually our mission is to really change the world. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you so much for this first session of the three Israeli entrepreneurs. And yes, the S of ESG is super powerful this morning. And let's shift to the second part. We have been asked by finance innovation. They have collected together with Raphaël great leaders about sustainable innovation, not only about the topics, but also about how to fund this big challenge. So please, André, if you want to organize the panel.
Raphaël. Let's call to the panel François Xavier.
Yes.
Huh?
And Maxence Dari, yes.
Oui, bien sûr, ensemble. Bien sûr. We are going to
I'm
talk.
happy to see
Okay.
my
My
associate, my partner, Laurent, is able to join us now, so that's great. So hello, everybody. I'm Gérald Cizil, and Laurent Assit. So we are co-founders of Go to Impact. So Go to Impact is a market intelligence company specialized in the ecological transformation. So and using a lot of digital tools, including, of course, AI, generative AI. What we do is first to help companies to anticipate the new markets, sustainable markets, and the opportunities. And actually, we have made a landscape of most of the markets that will increase, sustainable markets that will develop, that will increase by a rate of more than 10% per year until 2035 or even more. So we have identified like this more than 100 markets. And what is interesting to see is that it's where in Europe, most of the investment, including you all know about the Green Deal, the 1 billion euros of investment that will pour in these markets, all these markets. And the question is, how do you capture this investment and to grow your own business? Because most of the companies, they will have to transform themselves, and it's going to cost them a lot of money. So the challenge for them, how to finance this, is to develop, to capture new opportunities, new business opportunities in the area of sustainability. So it's what we are helping them and working on the next step for them.
Yes, the question is that why we are talking always about greenwashing. Even in a big company, you feel that you are talking about sustainability all the time. So why this big difference between what the people are feeling about the sustainability is always in our life, and when you are going to the big international company, they are coming back to the business as usual all the time. So we are talking about big change. But when you are working with big international company, you don't see that, because 90%, 95% of this current business is the business as usual. You have in Europe a big regulation named European taxonomy. You know that, European taxonomy? So we are always talking about carbon emission, but carbon emission is only one pillar of sustainable impact. That's why we have to face big change, talking about climate change adaptation. This is the second pillar. The third one is pollution, and then water. And I do know that Israeli and company are very involved in water management. And the other one is circular economy. It's a big change, because it's not a question of waste management, not at all, because it's a new paradigm. The new paradigm is no waste at all. This is the big change. Because we talk about eco-design. From the beginning, you have to start thinking about circular economy from the beginning. That's why you have to reconsider all the offers and all the process in order to reuse raw materials from the beginning. That's why it's a big challenge for international companies. And the last one is biodiversity. With Gerald, we set up a list of 2,000 sustainable solutions existing in the world. 2,000. But if you notice that in the world, yes, of course, in the world, the question is how to leverage them, to scale up them in the company, to change their process. That's why it's so important to put together big international companies and investment fund in order to leverage that. That's why in France, I would like just to give you just a feedback, what is going on in France, because we are really involved with French Ministry of Economy, with a big sort of bank named Caisse des Dépôts. I don't know if you know that. this is the entity. I don't know the name. It's like a bank, but driven by French government with BPI France. You know BPI France? BPI France is a part of Caisse des Dépôts. And you have also Banque des Territoires, means that you have a bank dedicated to the cities or the collectivities, okay? So they just launch a startup contest, and you will be pleased to hear that. The first contest in France, startup contest, related to how you can use data to speed up sustainable transformation. Data. Because as you know, we don't have this data inside the big company, the big international companies. But as you know, the main regulation, taxonomy, European taxonomy, the big challenge is to measure your impact, measuring your impact. Some of big international companies just transform it into just reporting. Can you imagine that? just reporting, just to avoid changing themselves. Saying, okay, we are going to provide reporting, but it's not the case. This is not the purpose of European taxonomy. Okay, just and we had more than 40 startups in this contest. And I would be pleased because I'm managing the advisory board, and I would be pleased to come back next time just to give you the key learning from analyzing them, cross-analysis, saying, okay, if you are analyzing, we have the best one, of course. And I would be pleased to share with you the key learning from analyzing these 40 startups involving they are involved in using data in order to speed up sustainable transformation.
Very pleased to meet you. Sorry for being a bit delayed with this technology here. I'm François Xavier, co-founder of Wingsure, and Wingsure is a spin-out from Stanford Research Institute. And what I like in life is, as an actuary, basically, is just to contribute in building some kind of trust when there is some difference between two stakeholders, and which is preventing them from doing some proper transaction, I'd say. And agriculture is one of them. Agriculture is interesting because it's 20% of the gas emission today on this planet. So where and how can we bring that little piece of trust in order to bridge that gap between, I would say, farmers and bankers or insurers? That's a fantastic risk because we can really measure risk in finance. I worked with robo advisories before, and for me, a farmer is a bit like an investor. He's not investing on financial markets. He's just investing on climate viable random variables. Right? It's the same issues and the same fear that he's actually facing when he's borrowing maybe in March and throwing a few $100,000 in the land in April at the season, when the season starts, whatever. And he's just waiting for that to yield, right? And how does he manage the risk? How can he monitor that risk? So far, I get some parametric product. It's like selling some put or call to someone who has a few hundreds of shares or bond on his market. But how can you manage your risk with that, frankly speaking, right? How can you predict your yield? So here, that's what we are tackling with Wingsure. I told you about the issues that we are facing with this slide. So it's true that today a farmer secure his yield with some phytochemical, right? That's the best, I would say, insurance premium to secure and to lower the volatility of his yield. Right? Buying some good phytochemical will secure that yield around the seeds that you put in the ground. But in a world where we want to decarbonize that, right? How can we help? How can we facilitate that transition? So I told you about insurance. I already told you about this huge market of agri-inputs as well. So Wingsure is a platform with pictorial-based analysis. You heard maybe of Tractable in the auto insurance industry. Here, we don't recognize a car accident, we recognize a crop. We recognize the growth stage of the crop, and we recognize also the damage of the crop. We have a voice bot enabling the whole distribution in the process, which can speak obviously any language, and we can curate and understand very precisely, like a robo advisory in a way, with the situation of a given farm, and with the whole automation and frictionless, obviously, process of an insurance distribution, implementing all the different technologies that we have developed in our partnership with Stanford Research Institute, augmented reality, computer vision, deep tech, obviously, and this multilingual voice bot. Our company is based in New York, and we operate in India. So basically, how does it work? From, I would say, the seed to harvest, a farmer goes every, I would say, every week he will go in his field. Maybe he will have 5-6 treatment of his crop, 5-6 operations during the life, the seasons of the crop. But every week we just send him to the field, and he just take pictures in a secure manner. And with this, we correlate with many other data, and we can deliver the prediction and slowly, of course, give him also what's the impact of a given insurance product on his, I would say, in capturing the bad side of his potential yield random variable, I would say, right? So we have a crop risk monitoring, and at the end of the season, we are in a position then to actually explain what is the loss of yield. Is it due to 15% due maybe to a hailstorm? Some pest and disease would have explained another 20%, and that's today different source of financing. So we can onboard in this process different kind of products, so that we have a 360 degrees risk management for the farmer. And there are obviously many values. It's a multi-sided market for which Wingsure is addressing for different kind of partners, insurers, states who have a food security issue. We have here, in fact, it's like, where do you put the sensor? We are talking about data before we ESGgo. It's exactly the same story. Where do we put the sensor? And here, just by the weekly walk in the field, instead of doing, for example, 9 million crop cutting experiment in order to assess what are the risks of the food security in a country like India, replace that with 9 billion pictures and daily know what are the issues, you know, in a very simple move, right? And much, much more accurate than a deliberate around a crop cutting experiment. So we have a partnership with the government of India, where we have assessed our technology, and we are just releasing our report on the capabilities it can bring to this market. Obviously, here we are addressing four sustainable UN SDGs in the climate action, obviously, the hunger, obviously, when we target farmers in a context like India, but we also work in France. And of course, we bring that piece of infrastructure by this standard that make that piece of information very unique. And whatever the crop, we can, you know, collate all this data and give a weekly report on to the farmer or to all the stakeholders we can work with. Thank you very much.
We are here to hear you.
For Greentech, which is a Fintech who has a little more than 1 year now. In one sentence, it is the toolbox for ESG reporting for financial players and corporates. So at the beginning, there is two guys working in big groups and financial markets. And one day they said that they want to change and act for the climate. They did the statement that the pressure of climate risk, obviously, is going to be put on the startups, the lower segments of the financial players. So they wanted to create a tool on the SaaS that aggregates all the ESG specialization. Because the personal market now, with all the regulation, they're saying to the startup, okay, do some ESG and reporting. That's something really complicated, really fast. So they aggregate into a SaaS all these specialization, biodiversity, carbon footprint, regulations, which is the biggest topic right now in Europe at least. And they wanted to automate all the process in order to spend more time into activating the data, to reading them, in order to change the impact, have some real impact on whatever the startup is doing on the market, and automate all the reporting process. And at the beginning, so one of the speakers said that climate risk is a financial risk. You could it. And the opposite is also true. It means that if you take into account the climate risk, it is nowadays an asset for financial side of the business. As we can see in the United States right now that some states had made some regulation. They forbid the financial players to take into account the ESG a few months ago. And right now, we see with those specific companies that the financial side is going down. So the challenge now is to understand all the ESG aspects, which are really a big scope, and activate this data, understand it, in order to take into change the impact about it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the panelists. And I would like to add my own view on. I don't have a startup, but I'd like to add my own view. 10 years ago, in 2013, I was at the Dan Palma Hotel when François Hollande was with us, together with a delegation of 90 French people and companies. François Hollande was president of France. And I remember something that he said after, everyone came pitching their own stuff, and it's okay. And all those figures about French business in Israel and the Israeli business in France, and etc. And at the end, François Hollande came up and said that it's not about the business, the French business in Israel, and it's not about the Israeli businesses in France. It's about what can France and Israel can do together to make business with the world. Okay, so I would like to take you to this perspective. We do have here in the room people from Orange, from Renault. I know that online we have also a bank. We have Priegue. We do have some industries. We'll have tonight the big VIP event, France-Israel, side event of ViraTec. Featuring more than 30 Israelis, more than 35 Israelis that came with me to Paris to build up relationship. And I do see startups here. I do see the cluster, of course, finance innovation, and everyone here is fighting for his own place, which is fantastic. But I would like us to think about how we can enlarge the cake together. Okay, so the Green Deal is part of it, €1 billion. But from 2018, more than $3 billion have been invested in Israel in ClimaTech. I don't have the last figure, but it will raise. I'm sure that Shani. $5. Oh, it get to 5. So I had the previous report. So $5 billion dollars have been invested in Israel. And Israel is a fantastic powerhouse of technologies, but as Shani said before, the Israelis, the startups need better sites, need pilots, need design partnerships. So sometimes this can be, with big industrial companies. Sometimes it can be as part of an European project. And I know that Raphaël is very strong in getting funding from European projects. Sometimes it's even startups and startups together that can build something. And for us, actually, when I say for us, so I'm Yossi Dan. This point, you know it, but I'm the CEO of Challenge Labs, and what we do with our customers is what's next, together with the startups. So we work with the big Fortune 500 companies, and in the ClimaTech, we have done last year a big move for us. So working with Priegue, with Total Energies, with Plastic Omnium, with Paris Airport, and others, we've done one big move. We've decided to focus on one event per year. It's already not easy to make it, and we want to make it as good as we can. This year, this event is PLANETech, as Shani presented it. This year on 17, 18, and 19 of October, we invite everyone, industry companies, startups, investors, the cluster, of course, finance innovation. We invite you to join us, to join our French ClimaTech pavilion at PLANETech, because we want in Tel Aviv. Thank you so much. So we invite you in Tel Aviv. André will arrange the flight and everything. And we invite you in October, but until October, we want to talk, we want to discuss, we want to build things together. We want to come prepared, just like Israelis that came to Paris for ViraTec, and part of them are here today. And thank you so much for being here, guys. We want to be ready by then. So it's not only adding in your agenda that you need to come to Tel Aviv. It's not only that. It's adding into your to-do list. What can we do together to make more business, to enlarge the cake, to make more business in ClimaTech between Israeli and French companies? So this was my my message for today. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for the online. Maybe we'll have the replay for somehow. And I would like to call Raphaël for the final remarks of this breakfast. Oh, yes, questions. So questions.
Thanks, Yossi. Thanks, André, and all the panelists. First of all, I'm so happy and glad to share with what we call a European level, share with champions. And beside the willingness to build the corridor between Israel, Europe, and other countries, maybe MENA countries, that we enhance maybe our work, I will be happy to raise some questions with the panelists, because I think it's mandatory, because I'm joining all your purpose. First of all, the human capital in this green transition, also the technology, how maybe accelerating the strategy of data-driven beside the technology, AI, blockchain, and others. I think it's fundamental that we take maybe more knowledge, maybe, or know-how from the Israeli ecosystem, and to accelerate this transition also between Europe and Israel. And I will be happy to raise some questions with the panelists from the guys, champions also, and with maybe the fantastic champion women, okay, and others, and maybe from the room, if it's suitable. So, first question, our title is enabling sustainable innovation. So the question is, what is the sustainable innovation today? So who wants to answer the question?
Please, I would like just to add something because we are going to organize a learning expedition with a big ecosystem in France named Moving On. I don't know if you already heard about that. Yes, yes, because he moved to Canada for 2 weeks. And I would like to talk about that because he implemented a process, as you know, in order to promote co-innovation. That's why you are talking about that. And we will be pleased to share with you what it means to speed up co-innovation between big international companies, welcoming, of course, startups. So I would be pleased to show you next time with Eric Grab how we can speed up that kind of approach. Michelin, of course, Eric Grab, which is the, yeah.
So about my question, who wants to?
I'm sorry, Raphaël. I didn't answer that question.
I've seen it. I've seen it happening in other industries, right? It's maybe 15 years ago in the automotive industry, and then digital innovation, maybe like 15, 16, 7 years ago. And I'll do it very high level because I can talk hours about it. But an emerging of a new innovation ecosystem requires several pillars. One is a lot of startups to emerge, then the buyers, the corporates, or the companies that will buy, they use the innovation, and the investors, because startups need the investment. And it's slowly growing. And this ecosystem has to be built with all of them. And there are many modules of how corporates can work with startups. It's scouting, it's having people inside the organization that are related to it. It's building accelerators. It's leveraging the Googles and Microsoft of the world to collaborate. I mean, there's many models, but it's really baby steps, but it really needs, like Yossi said, it needs a collaboration of everybody, and it takes time. It takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of courageous people, because you have to convince a lot of people around you. So it's baby steps, and you need all of these players to play together, and a lot of budget also.
And again, also, it takes the infrastructure from the part of the governments to put the right incentives in place and the right disincentives in place. And another thing that it takes is to change habits and behaviors of consumers, for example. So, we consume, we're used to consume a lot of goods, we talked about making things, and very cheaply. And somebody's paying the price socially, if we're talking about the S of the S. So we're talking a lot about innovation and technology, but we need to talk about also the G, the governments, and the social aspects.
Yes, I would like just to add something about the what means sustainable innovation. We have a framework now in Europe named European Taxonomy. So it's very complex because it's more than 2,000 pages to handle. Can you imagine that? So it's just impossible for companies to handle 2,000 pages at the same time. So we convert it into 50 objectives around these 6 pillars. And we analyze 2,000 sustainable solutions just to show what it means concretely with sustainable solution. Because the question is having big tech. It's not only small, smart startups. To bet into scale up, unicorn, and more big tech in order to change very fast. Because with just small startup, we can't do that. Changing NG, changing Priegue, it's no ways doing that with small startups. We have to bet into very strong startup that brings very big change in the company.
And if I just can add something, you basically said it with the government, but I think the main challenges to sustainable innovation is to educate the markets, because as we said at the beginning, sustainability is a profitable business, and everyone needs to know it because it will bring more and more people into this segment. But so yeah, we need to educate the market side, but also, as you said, with the government, everybody else. And I think on this side, we are doing great with the schools are aligning into this side. So yeah, we are doing some good job on that, I think.
Thank you. François-Xavier?
Yes, so I think in the same line that what Maxence said is, I think it's like, where do we put the focus on, and where in fact do we shift the value? It's like 30 years ago, where we were putting the value is not where we put the value today. And I think that, of course, these pillars and all these infrastructure frameworks are helping, but slowly, I mean, we all know that we don't put the value and we don't value the same things that we used to value today. And more we need to, go closer. It's like it's incremental, and all these 2,000 pages, each of them help a little bit to uncover a little piece. Like, slowly we reach with proxies to the real piece of value that makes our happiness in life at the end of the day. So that's what I think helps and makes this sustainable finance a beautiful path. But it's a path. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much for the vibrant presentations. I'm Jean, I'm urban planner and as well expert at net zero cities for carbon neutral cities. And I have another cap as well. I'm working in the industry for Renault, but it's another story. So I'm coming back to Anat's remark about behavior and the key question of behavior change with a double question. The first one is that Shani said that we need better sites, but are there still some living labs in Israel, or are you focusing on searching worldwide other living labs to experiment new solutions? And the other one related to that is what is the share of, you spoke about deep tech, but what is the share of low tech or slow techs related to slow living as well, and coming back to behaviors? Thank you. Slow living as well, that behavior change.
Okay, so great question. So when I talked about better sites, yes, we have the living labs in Israel and they still exist, but I'll give you an example. We have an amazing carbon capture from the ocean company in Israel, and they are at this, oh, sorry.
Be careful.
Oh yeah, I forgot we have it, sorry. So they had to search basically for a piece of ocean, right, to validate their technology. And this is something that is very different. Anat also touched on it, between software companies to ClimaTech companies, because they need the actual nature to validate. The beta site is usually a piece of land, a piece of ocean, or it could be a corporate, an industry player that they want to validate the technology with. So this is something that Israel is still also from a geographical point of view, but also there's no like a framework or a system in place that is super smooth about it. Okay, again, there are other systems that work better. So we need the actual land to test these type of technologies. And your second question, do you refer also in terms of hardware or just? Yeah, I think again, so what I presented here was kind of like my aim in trying to break down what it means, sustainable innovation or ClimaTech. And I think it involves everything. Like it involves a lot of stakeholders. It involves really deep tech. It might also have a component of a low tech. But when we look at climate technologies, we usually look at researchers that have been going on for years now, really scientific-oriented teams we see a lot of times. So maybe we have a component of low tech, of hardware, like off-the-shelf stuff. But a lot of the technologies that we see in new materials, in solar, in hydrogen, in all of that, it's usually really, really, really deep tech. So.
I would like to add something to Jean, what you were sharing. We do have living in Israel. Two of them are quite active. But for working, all those years, more than 10 years that we run the innovation lab, I can tell you that usually, we see that from the Israeli perspective, we see that in two steps. The first step is a kind of POC, proof of concept, in Israel that we do with a local living lab, with a local industry player. And then after there is a kind of approval of this first step, we move to a POV, to a proof of value that we do actually abroad, that we do actually, close to the client. So our approach is in Israel, we run a lot what we were calling first, alpha and beta, and the early checking of the technologies is done in Israel, nearby in living labs or others. We do have the forum of the 15 biggest cities, for instance, and they all have their own program to test the things. And as soon as we do have some good signs, we move to the US and to Europe. Quickly, just for you to understand, for the ones that were not in Israel yet, but that have put 17, 18, and 19 in October to be with us in Tel Aviv, more than 400 multinationals have actually an office about innovation or scouting in Israel. 400, and we don't have that much French companies. Okay, 400. A lot from the US and also from Germany, from England, from Asia, and they come and go shopping. So they want to do the POV, the proof of value, very, very, very quickly. I think that it is about time to see how French, European player in general can come to Israel and actually find the right things before it's too expensive, before it's go to exit, etc., etc. So it's something that important to test locally and then to go globally. And of course, at Renault, Stéphane Lafarge and Amos in Tel Aviv and all the team is actually one of the only French companies that have such a facility. So I'm a big fan and a big supporter, and I think that we should, you should share your own knowledge about the Israeli market to other big companies and to other startups, because even the startups to startup relationship can be very interesting for getting some budget and sometimes some collaboration on the tech side.
I wanted to add a comment. I wanted to add a comment to your question. First of all, yes, there is nature. There are different climate situations in different countries. So that's for one. Let's say apropos the trees. Okay, so if we're doing oil palms, it has to be in Colombia. It can't be in Israel. This is one example. Secondly, Israel is small in terms of everything that pertains, consumers, B2C companies. So we need really the corporates from the world to work on doing beta testing or testing if it's a B2C app or whatever that may be, and that exists in climate as well. But thirdly, and I think that's one of the points that you talked about, Yossi, Israeli startups need to go out to the world. It educates them to work with the multinationals, to work with big corporates. The corporates in Israel, they're good, they're open to innovation, they're Israelis, they speak Hebrew, but at the end of the day, Israel is small. Israel is not the end market for the startups. So they really need to work with the companies that will take them to their end markets.
Hello, everyone. My name is George. Yeah. AI Disraeli company. It's startup. I have question. Before I work in robotics industry and blockchain industry, I have question about for speakers. What's important technologies, artificial intelligence, for example, neurolinguistic processing or computer vision. What's important for climate changes, for ESG, for ecology, and I never hear about blockchain today. Maybe something, maybe NFT, maybe something else. Thank you.
Before the answer, the other question from the
My question.
Sure.
Okay, I'm Yair from Sonovia, and my question is general, but I would like you kindly answer me, because I'm looking for the money, funding, and I'm thinking what to target. And this is connected to this question. You are measuring and checking the big companies for sustainability. Are those big companies account to their supply chain? And I will have one sentence to explain. We are trying to solve the problem of the processes of the textile, dyeing and finishing processes, which are account, surprisingly, for 10 of the worldwide pollution, 10% of textile. Now, do I have to go to the brands? We last in Sunday, we closed agreement with Kering, with Gucci. Do I have to go to the brands, or do I have to go to the textile manufacturer or something like this? Both. And I'm again to my question. Do you measure the accountability of the supply chain? Because I want to see this.
First question answered. And then
No.
Orly.
The good news is that we need one full day just to exchange each other. So it's a good news. Thanks to the people who organized that event. I would like just to share with you something about frugal innovation. We call that in India Jugat innovation, because it's a big change. Because we are always talking about high tech. But to allow the low-income countries to access sustainability, we can't keep going with high tech. We have to promote another way of doing innovation, using less resources. Because this is the big challenge for everybody, just to re-engineering the product, just in order to use less resources. We talk about circular economy, which means that we don't have to create waste, but in both ways, we have also to promote another way to do the offer with using less, because you are talking about we talk about low cost product, and we can see the Renault, the successful of his brand, low cost. It means that it match a big expectation, market expectation for that. So we have to consider that. And just to be short, long story short, I would like just to highlight the fact that we talk about the Green Deal, 1,000 billion euro. Can you imagine that? This investment, 1,000 billion euro. Yes, this is the Green Deal. And what we have done is to show that 100 sustainable market that brings most part of the 1,000 billion euro just to drive new change in a company. Because now, just to finish in one sentence, what is the big change? Up to now, keep going in a sustainability was nice to have. That's why we talk about the greenwashing, because it's just nice. But now it's a must-have, because if you are not providing sustainable product, you can't access financing in Europe. That's why you have both ways. It means that you have regulation. It costs a lot to implement European taxonomy. It costs a lot. But at the same time, you have Green Deal with 1,000 billion euro invested in sustainable market. Keep in mind that focusing on this existing markets, we analyze only existing market, but grow up very fast, being focused on that. And that's why we are working with French government saying, okay, stop just having a contest, saying, okay, we are putting a little money on startup, focusing on this sustainable market with a big money on it.
I'm happy to answer your question, Yair, but also yours. As far as suppliers, yes, 100%. Most of the companies, the largest contributor of the CO2 emissions, actually around 70% of the CO2 emissions of a company is generated by its suppliers. So yes, absolutely. Now, we do that. Our system does that. But it's very hard for companies to survey their suppliers because there is this education. You mentioned education. It's really, really important. So you have to, as a company, approach, you know, if you're a Renault, if you're an automotive company, you probably have tens of thousands of suppliers, 80-20 rule, some are bigger, some are smaller, but you have to approach all of your suppliers. Some are small, some don't even understand how to do this. So there's a very, very big challenge, practical challenge on doing it. But yes, it's a must. I think that some of the countries, I think actually, don't quote me on this, please. I know I'm on record, so I'm careful. I think Germany and France, I don't know if it's 2026 or 2027, companies will have to report the CO2 of their suppliers. So it's getting there. It's just very, very hard practically to survey, and you don't want to bother your suppliers if they're big suppliers, but it's there. It's there. The direction is going there, and we are doing that as well, our system. And if I can answer your question on the technology, which I forget the name. George. For your company, I wouldn't approach, I mean, I was an investor before, and I've seen a lot of companies coming with great technology looking for market. I would do the opposite. I would look for the problems, see how to solve them, and then look for the technology. Because, I mean, it's great to think about NFT, but if NFT is not the world, so first look for the problem, look for what your strength is, what your core strength or your team strength, and then connect the two, but start for the problem.
You will go on during the networking session.
Okay.
We had a wonderful morning. Please, Raphaël and Yossi, give us. Thank you so much for the organization of this event. And please, your final remarks for today before networking. And the future is us.
Thank you very much for coming, and I'm so happy to share with fantastic people. So I don't close all the questions I would like to raise with all of you, but what I would like to say is that we have to mind the gap by enabling technology to give the right answer to this green transition. And I think that the year 2023 is the year to act. So I'm happy. I would like to thank you for all coming. We have a lot of things to say, and Laurent told me that we need a full day to explore all maybe the domain beside the circular economy, beside decarbonization, etc., and climate and so on. But again, what I would like to share with you and also to streamline is how together we can mind the gap by accelerating the digital transition, how we can build the right bridges at the technological level, and how also to identify the right ecosystem to work with and also to make the right partnership to accelerate this intelligent green transition. And finally, I think we need also a new, maybe people in regard of what we call the 2.0 human capital. I think we need today for the sustainability, the management 2.0 at that level. So how it's another question, but it's very important to say how we can push, maybe how we can embed all maybe the stakeholders and protagonists in the whole ecosystem, beside the culture of the firm, beside the processes, beside the product, and what we call all the life cycle assessment. So thank you very much for
Thank you, Raphaël. Raphaël,
thanks
Attias.
to the crowd, thanks to the startup. So we have a lot of pragmatic startup here.
A few words from Yossi, and then something to drink.
It will be short. It will be short. I would like to thank Finance Innovation, for being our home this morning. They have emphasized the fact that they want to do more with the Israeli ecosystem, and we are more than happy to be part of that. Of course, Raphaël together with Maximilien. Okay, he closed just closed the door. We're actually, behind the organization of it, and thank you also for them. And finally, I would like to thank the part of the Israeli delegation that is already here. I know that it's not that easy to bring more than 35 Israelis to Paris. Besides that, Paris is always nice to be here when it's not too hot. I really thank you for being here because only by the fact that you come to Paris, you can build real relationship with the French market. So we'll have later today our big VIP gathering, of course, and we'll have ViraTec tomorrow and the day after. So thank you for being here, because through that you can enable not only sustainable innovation, but this kind of partnership between France, Europe, and Israel. That's it from me.
Yes. Just one second more. I would like to give the floor to my new friend, is Mr. Alexander Brockman from Netherlands. So he built a new, maybe entity named Superconnectors, dedicated to accelerate the startup, and I promised him to give the floor, and because he will invite tomorrow the best startup in the ecosystem of climate to the wonderful event at the Citizen in Paris, Intramuros.
You have 2 hours. No, 1 minute. Please.
I feel kind of bad for like being the 1 minute before your next cup of coffee, so I'll keep it really short. I'm Alexander Broekman. I'm from the Netherlands, so Maastricht. That's very in there. So Superconnectors basically brings together people with really strong networks to help startups that deserve getting the help from the best. We're not investing with financial capital in these events. We're investing with social capital. So we're helping startups that are experiencing a social barrier, so a network barrier. And we are selecting amongst 100 startups for each event. We're selecting 7. Our aim is to become the TED of connections. And so far, we've organized events in 20 large conferences. So that includes Mobile World Congress, South by Southwest in Austin. We're here at ViraTec too tomorrow. Tomorrow we have an event at the Citizen M here in Paris at the rooftop. It's going to be really nice. So that's mentioned.
At what time tomorrow?
At between 6 and 8 at the Citizen M. No, in the evening, not in the morning. So if you're interested, please talk to me. We have a bunch more events. Please go to our websites, superconnectors.io. And yeah, I hope to see you soon. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And the last but not least, just to like to know about finance innovation, that we're actually, my mission is to build with finance innovation and maybe the Israeli ecosystem to build the first corridor of partnership, because we are actually trying to build the first super cluster on sustainability. So all people are invited, and we have with us some partners from Go to Impact and others who are actually building the right foundations to set up this new accelerator of startup with hopefully the Santos, not only the Recon, but also building the right people, the right place with the super cluster. So this is exactly the new maybe challenges with finance innovation and with Israeli and other partners and
Merci,
corporate.
Raphaël.